A lot of the leaders that I'm coaching right now, when they hit a wall or they struggle with something, they're coming to me and they're finding out, and they're trying to find out what it is they can do to get through this wall. Is there a solution to the problem? Is there a magic pill that they haven't tried? And what it oftentimes comes down to, which is not the most exciting thing to talk about with them, is that they really need to actually increase their level of mental toughness. The best leaders we know out there have a high degree of mental toughness, and a lot of my clients have been asking me, all right, Kate, how exactly do we develop mental toughness? Now, the reason that we're even getting into this is because the current market, the current climate that we've been in as of late has created a lot of success, and it's been intentional success, but it's also been accidental success if people have ridden the wave of the market up in whatever market it is that you're in. And what often happens is when markets get more challenging, regardless of the industry you're in, the systems that used to work for them stop working. And of course, this is an opportunity for us as leaders to be innovative, to problem solve, to figure out what's working, what's not, how can we change that. But it's also the area, this is the arena in which leaders can develop mental toughness. So a lot of our clients are asking us right now, what do you do to develop mental toughness? And I'll share with you some of the top key things I see among all of the leaders that we coach right now who have a high degree of mental toughness. I'm Kate Simon, and I've been coaching since 2013, and I have over 8,000 hours of coaching salespeople, leaders, CEOs, and top executives in their field. One of the first points we tackle in coaching leaders to hit their goals is where their degree of mental toughness is and ultimately how they can increase that. Now, why that's important is because if you're a small business owner, if you're a CEO, if you're an entrepreneur, the degree of stress in which you're able to withstand will ultimately correlate to the degree of success that you have. In fact, when I look at some of the most successful people that I coach, their degree of stress is incredibly high, but also their degree to manage that stress is high as well. And so it really leads to this question that we get all the time in this point, which is how do you actually develop more mental toughness? Now, the goal of actually developing mental toughness is so that we can increase the amount of stress that we can handle on a regular basis so that we can ultimately get to a higher level of success. The more successful we get, the more stress that's going to come our way, and we have to continue to become better and more resilient at handling that stress. And so part of that is just like anything else that we do, and it's practicing exposing ourselves to stressful situations. So I'm going to share with you the top 4 things you can do to improve and increase your own mental toughness. The first thing that all of these leaders have in common, and I notice this with them, is that they actively seek out manufacturing resistance in their world. Now that might sound kind of funny. Why would you go out of your way to seek challenges? But a lot of these leaders are actively putting challenges into their regular day, and I'll get into what that actually looks like, but they're putting these challenges into their day because they know that if they continue to do hard things day in and day out, that will transfer over into the conversations that they have on a regular basis and into the objections and obstacles that come forward from their business. So, I know there's mixed feelings about this out there, but you hear a lot of people who do like cold plunges, they run marathons. You've got a lot of like high performance executives that love running Ironmans, triathlons, climbing Mount Everest. And so certainly I'm not necessarily recommending that you go out and climb a mountain today in order to become mentally tough. Understand that a lot of their hobbies, if you really pay attention to it, require a high level of mental toughness, right? Like we're not talking about, a hobby like knitting. We're talking about hobbies that push their body to a limit, which ultimately push their minds to a limit and stretches and challenges them so that they know that whatever they handle within their business is going to be small compared to what they personally handle, whether it's at the gym, whether it's on the bike trail, whether it's, running on the road, whatever that is, it's going to be the hardest thing that they do on a regular basis so that once they get to work, everything's smooth sailing. So the second thing that I noticed that all of these leaders are doing right now is they're hungry for challenges and they're hungry for feedback and ultimately things that they can do to improve themselves, improve their business, and ultimately improve the lives of the people that they're impacting. Now, it always surprises me when when I'm regularly in conversation with leaders because they're people who are asking for feedback. What can they do better? Where did they drop the ball? What is it that they can tighten up or polish up in order for them to ultimately hit their goals. And you can always tell when you're in a room of leaders versus a room of people who might not have that same mental toughness, because when you're regularly in the conversation of giving people feedback, most people don't welcome that the same way that a group of leaders are going to. Most people would, clam up or get defensive or, not have a good reaction to it. Now, of course, in leadership, part of our job is to understand how to deliver that feedback in a way that our people are going to react and respond to it. But the point here is that if you have a high degree of mental toughness, it's usually because you're seeking out the truth, you're seeking out how you can improve. And what that ultimately means is that you might have to expose yourself to some uncomfortable facts or realities, whether it's about you, yourself, your relationships, your business, that other people haven't really exposed you to. But the leaders that are mentally tough are actively seeking out this kind of feedback, and they're seeking out challenges in their business. Now, why they're doing this, apart from their hunger to grow and their desire to be the best at whatever it is they're doing, what they're actually doing, and this is actually really smart if you pay attention to it, they're finding out where their holes are so that they can patch those holes and become impermeable. And then they're finding out where those holes are so that they can patch the holes and become impermeable. So if you really pay attention to what the highest leaders out there are doing, they are welcoming the feedback. They are welcoming the negativity. They are welcoming the people that are dissatisfied with something or have a problem with something, because they know that they're going to take action to fix it so that that's never a problem again. In fact, they actually look at their challenges as valuable feedback that they can make a correction on so that they can become the best at whatever it is that they're after. So the third thing that I notice in a lot of the leaders that I coach right now is that they are all incredibly persistent, okay? So there's a mindset to be had around failure, and they're not necessarily afraid of failure, right? They're willing to fail over and over and over and over again until they get it right. And while, listen, failing at something, however you define that, can sting, it can hurt, it can be discouraging, it can be disappointing, yet they handle that period of failure, whether they're waiting on feedback, whether they're waiting to figure out what it is they want to do, they handle that period with grace, because they understand that it's part of the process. And the more they're willing to be persistent at showing up to figuring out that problem, the more likely they are to ultimately win, right? They understand that failing is the necessary path forward to success. It's not the obstacle in the way of success. And there's a really big difference there in that mindset towards failure and continuing to be persistent and showing up to the things that are hard, even if you're not totally confident that you can do it. So these leaders practice persistence on a regular basis. Giving up is not an option. In fact, they're just going to find multiple ways to fail until they succeed. In fact, these are the type of people that before they ever give up running a marathon, or before they ever give up working out or running a race, they're going to die on the treadmill trying. I mean, when we talk about heart, these people have a deep degree of passion and persistence towards what it is that they're trying to accomplish. And I believe that really comes down to what their association is to failure. And rather than seeing failure as a personal failure, they see it as an obstacle outside of themselves that they have to continue to figure out and problem solve how they can get through that, how they can get around that. When we can start recontextualizing failures as obstacles, almost like you're in a video game, it becomes a lot more fun to problem solve why you keep hitting the same obstacles over and over again, instead of it feeling like it's personal or something that it means anything at all about you. One of my mentors, I would say that he is the most persistent person I've ever met. I mean, if he gets an idea in his head, he's gonna die before that idea goes out of his head, or he's gonna accomplish that idea. And so, we built a business hosting large scale events to train in our industry. And of course, if you were around and in business in 2020, you know that there were no large scale events, but that was one of the biggest ways in which we were acquiring clients. And so, we solved problems a different way, which I'll say for a different video, but also as far as persistence goes, he was one of the first in our industry to get back out there and host a large scale event. And instead of buying into the idea that nobody's doing large scale events right now, everybody is social distancing, how would we ever do a conference and social distance people? He and of course, our other business partners came up with a solution that would help meet people where they're at with their comfort level of COVID, help safely space people out at this event, and help create an environment that would cause people to feel safe enough going to in-person events again. And, at the time, right now it might not seem like a big deal, but keep in mind, and this was March 2021. I mean, the country was still very much in the throes of COVID, and yet he was committed to finding a solution, not committed to staying where everybody else was at. And I think that when we talk about persistence, you really have to ask yourself the question, are you committed to finding a way through and around this, or are you committed to staying exactly where you're at? And when I think of the most successful leaders out there, when it comes to persistence, they are fanatical about finding a way over and through the obstacles, not just staying where they're at. So one of the last points here on creating mental toughness, and this one's gonna sound cliche, but that doesn't mean it's not true. And it's honestly that a lot of these people, they have a coach, a mentor, or really in our world, like a board of directors of people that they trust in various areas of their life to shoot it to them straight, okay? And this is, you get a lot of people who are like, oh, I just tell it how it is. And it's like, okay, well, unless you've earned the right to do that with somebody, people are going to shut down when you give them that level of feedback, right? But a lot of the leaders that are demonstrating a high degree of mental toughness, it's because they have people in their world that they trust, whether it's in the church, in health, in fitness, in marriage. They might have a personal therapist, they might have a business coach. These are all people in their world who have permission to be a mirror to them and honestly tell them some things about themselves that they might not want to hear. But again, because they're committed to success and because they're committed to going where they want to go, they welcome this level of feedback so that they can grow and so that they can change. And so the fourth thing that I see consistently among the best leaders and executives out there who have a high degree of mental toughness is they have a coach who is stretching their mind and is pushing them and is challenging them to find their next outer limit. Now, I actually just had this conversation with a coaching client yesterday. This is a coaching client who's working on his speaking skills, and he's been going out and presenting on the road. And this is a sharp guy. He's well put together. He presents well, in my opinion. He knows what to say. He knows how to say it. Yet, for whatever reason, in the last 3 sessions, it hasn't been landing with the audience. Okay, the audience hasn't been making the same connection that I've been making when I watch it back, and we needed to figure out and find out where the disconnect was. Now, not going to put this client on the spot, but this is a client who's a high performer in a lot of areas. This client exceeds really well in his personal business. He exceeds really well with some of his other business ventures. And like one of our jokes is like, things aren't that hard for him. And so when we were dissecting what was going on here, some of his feedback to me was, Kate, I really feel like I'm doing everything I can. I feel like I've done this. I feel like I've done this. I feel like I've done all the things that you're telling me to do. And I had to like pause for a second and step out of the conversation and say, client, can I be really honest with you? If you were doing all of the things you said that you're doing, we wouldn't be getting the feedback that we're getting. And so we sat in that discomfort for a second, and I got a message from him later, and he said, you know what, you're right. I'm overconfident in the things that I'm doing, and I'm underdeveloped in some of these other areas, which is causing this feedback. Now, this is a high achiever. This is somebody with, master's degree level education who runs a very successful business. And yet, there are still personal limitations that we all have that are holding us back from becoming and being our best self. And all of the executive leaders that I coach right now have people in their world that are willing to help point out those blind spots for them so that they can be best prepared for whatever challenges come their way. All right, guys, and then a bonus point for you. So this is not number 5, but this is a rule in general, right? That all of the leaders that we're coaching right now who have a high degree of mental toughness, guess what? They had to take action at some point. And I know you're here right now, you're trying to learn everything you can about being mentally tough. And here's the reality. You can watch as many YouTube videos as you want. You can listen to as many podcasts as you want. You can go to as many seminars and read as many books as you want. At the end of the day, though, it's time to take action. So drop in the comments below and tell me, where are you going to be manufacturing resistance in your world so that you can help improve and increase your degree of mental toughness? And then, oh, by the way, go and take action on the thing that you're putting off. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you got something out of this to help increase and improve your mental toughness. Go ahead and like this video, subscribe to my channel. That way you can continue to grow and develop as a leader.